and welcome to Game. Here where we talk about games, arts, movies, and everything electronic. Here we have Jay, myself, Megashawn, and then we have also Waffles. And today we'll be talking about some of the best RPGs and what makes a good RPG. Also, you be sure to check us out at Game Show Chat on Twitter, and you can also email us at gameshowchat@gmail.com. So, fellas, what are some of your favorite genres of RPGs? You know, you have like the action and the Japanese and turn-based. What are some of the ones that you guys prefer?
Well, I prefer the JRPG or Japanese RPG with the turn-based style. Well, everybody's favorite is Final Fantasy, but I'd say mine had to be Skies of Arcadia. It's the RPG that nobody ever played. It was on the Dreamcast. It came out for the GameCube too, but the best was for the Dreamcast with the VMU interaction, and it took place in the sky. It was like a Jules Verne-esque type world. You know, I'm obsessed with games that take place in the sky. So, and basically it's the only RPG where I can think where you play pirates, and I don't know, I can't think of Chrono Trigger, but you were pirates or Final Fantasy.
Okay.
You play roles like that.
Okay, so Skies of Arcadia. Okay, Jay, what about you?
See, I've always been like an old school fan. I love those turn-based games. I mean, you had Final Fantasy growing up. You had like the old school Dragon Warrior stuff. I mean, hands down for me, like the two best RPGs they ever created were Chrono Trigger, which, I mean, you could just sit and play that game for ages. And I was always a huge fan of Deus Ex. I mean, Deus Ex was this real cool kind of first-person shooter, action-based deal. It was pretty much, Metal Gear Solid before Metal Gear Solid even came out. I mean, the cool thing about Deus Ex I always dug is that they throw you in as this agent. You can hack your way through a game. You can literally go through 90% of the game and not even killing somebody. And I just love the way for the interaction there. But I mean, to me, it's got to be Chrono Trigger. I mean, you could play that game. There's 13 different endings on that game. Wow. I mean, you could finish the game in 45 hours. You could finish it in an hour and a half if you really felt like it. And the best thing is the main character never said a word to the whole game.
Okay, so for somebody like myself who isn't the biggest RPG player, what would be something that would pull me in to a Chrono Trigger or even to a Skies of Arcadia? Just because for me, sometimes they seem to move slower. You know, I kind of want my action then and I want it now as opposed to, building up and having to select things before the battle. And I think that's kind of where it would lose me is once, like you're walking, you run into a pirate or to a troll.
It's not Ultima. You don't sit there and go click, click, click anymore. I mean, you look at it like this. I mean, a lot of the franchises nowadays, stuff like Devil May Cry, has even got to the fact of where they took these classic RPG elements where, you start off as this little itty bitty weakling, and by the end of the game, you ascend to a godlike character. Even God of War franchise has got to that point. I mean, realistically nowadays, almost any action game you're playing has a lot of RPG elements.
I would agree.
I mean, back in the day, it was you're one little itty bitty character, and you're gonna grind and grind and grind. There's all these stupid random encounters. And that's why a lot of people got turned off by the Dragon Warriors and the Final Fantasies and all that stuff like that because, number one, it was too much reading. And like you said, sometimes it's too slow.
I mean, we got to the point now where they have voice actors, and all games have, this unlimited budget, and everybody can just, you have this cast of characters. Sometimes voice acting is terrible, but, but some games still have text in them. But Mass Effect you would be able to get into that.
So that's like an action RPG.
So, well, the second and third one were kind of like action, but they still have RPG elements in them that the first one did. But it's lots of text in there and context and conversations that you can choose the path you want to go and leveling up. That's an important thing in RPG. If you don't have leveling ups, it's not an RPG.
So do you think it was that was a great way for Marvel to kind of expand their brand, in regards to going that route with the Ultimate Alliances? That way, everybody can play with people who they're familiar with. So it's kind of easy to get somebody like me in, or somebody who might not have played an RPG but was a comic fan, and then now this might open them up to a Chrono Trigger or to a Skies of Arcadia, or even a Final Fantasy.
X-Men Legends was really good. I mean, I remember when that came out, a lot of people jumped on board because they thought it was this really big action game, and I mean, it really got its core. I mean, it was an RPG. It really was. They just hit it really, really well. I got some friends that as soon as they think RPG, they just think, oh, I'm going to sit here and all this random stuff, and I'm not really get what's going on because you already got this preconceived notion. I mean, a lot of stuff I remember when Final Fantasy VII came out. I mean, I was watching my friends play that. This is the pre-internet days. Huge spoiler alert, guys. When they kill off one of your main characters, it's like a comic book. Everybody comes back. Nope, ain't no come back from this one. You were just dead. And I mean, you sat there just stunned. You're like, I spent like 3 weeks playing with this character, and now they're just dead. That's what I was really, really enjoyed about those big, massive RPG games, because you don't get stuck with one character just sitting here and it's like, man, there's only one guy, and sometimes you just can't get behind that. But when you have like a whole group of somebody, there's always that one weird, tricked out, nerdy, messed up kind of pseudo mohawk kind of guy. You're like, I think I can get behind this guy.
Yeah, because I remember, I want to say it was for the first PlayStation, when they had that Final Fantasy game and everybody's like at the train station.
Yep.
I believe.
Yep.
And it had this epic, not what's the word I'm looking for, it was like the epic cutscene.
Yep.
And that was all I had saw originally. Like, I remember Final Fantasy from when I was younger and hearing about it. But then I remember with the PlayStation 1 and it was just grand cutscene, and I'm thinking, this is how the game's gonna look.
Oh, you got tricked.
And then the game comes in, and then there's this guy sitting at the train station, and I said, up right back to the video store. But because I was so excited, because I wanted to be able to interact with something like that, because I'd always heard guys in school talk about it, like, oh, I'm doing this or I'm doing that in regards to an RPG game, and I was just kind of like, oh, I played Madden, so I really didn't have any excitement in my game. It was just mostly sports based. So when trying to do it, and I ran into that, it was all bad. But they have gotten a lot better with the Ultimate Alliance and the X-Men Legends.
And I still to this day haven't seen all the endings on Chrono Trigger. So I mean, I've seen about 6 of them, but
I spent a day one time.
I need to get on there.
I grabbed my emulator one day, and I'm like, okay, because I got like the 3 or 4 endings, and I'm like, and that's when I really found out there's 13 different ones. Because like the last 2, literally, like you start the game, and 5 minutes into it, you can end the game. And I'm like, who thought of this? Wow. That literally 5 minutes into your game.
That's unheard of. Like to this day, like no other RPG did that. Like,
I've read the strategy guide. I think from cover to cover twice, and I still haven't finished everything. Still haven't found every little thing that's in there. And that's what I always thought was really cool about some of these really deep RPGs, like and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. I love Final Fantasy X. I love the game up until you got to the end point, because it was just like you're bashing your head into a brick wall. I thought the story was cool. I thought the whole level up mechanic was great. And then it just became, now you have to sit here for 40 hours before you can finish the game. And that's where I got lost.
40 hours?
It felt that way, because I mean, like you had to max your character out to have any chance at the end of that game. And it was just like, nope, not gonna do it. And just gave up.
Because there was no type of really backtracking you can do. And then, but it kind of was, but you had to do a lot of grinding. And at that point, I was getting to that age where I don't have a lot of grinding time, so
Yeah, you just couldn't skip the preseason like you can in Madden. You had to like sit there and play everything.
Of course. Well, it's been a fantastic talk. Obviously, we could talk about these great RPGs and these timeless RPGs, forever. But also, if you have any comments or if you want to email us with some of your favorite RPG games or titles, or also hit us up on Twitter. The email is going to be gameshowchat@gmail.com. Our Twitter is going to be @GameShowChat. And also be sure to like us on Facebook and leave us your comments. Great. Thank you for guys for coming out. Waffles, Jay, and game over.
Admit it, Lillian, you get wet. Would you like to try some of the rocks, Strudel?
That's it. No more. Enough, Waka.